Daniel said, "What the hell is this?" His voice cracked as the email loaded, revealing safety reports marked as approved, though he knew the tests had never happened. The fluorescent lights flickered above his desk, as if reacting to his pulse. The silence of the late-night office pressed against his ears, broken only by the hum of servers. Daniel felt sweat trickle down his neck, his hands trembling as he scrolled through falsified signatures. His name was listed in the chain. He whispered, "They forged me into this." He glanced toward the glass walls of the office, the dark city skyline outside swallowing the last traces of dusk. A sudden dread filled him, as though every shadow carried a pair of eyes. The company logo glared from the header of the document, pristine and corporate, yet beneath it lay deception that could cost thousands of lives. He slammed the laptop shut, breath catching, heart pounding like war drums in his chest. Daniel staggered to his feet, gripping his access badge. He muttered, "I need to get out." At the lobby, the badge scanner beeped red. Locked out. A chill swept through him. Something was wrong. He was already being cut off. Daniel whispered, "They're shutting me out." He backed away from the locked gate, heartbeat rattling his chest like a drum. The building seemed to close in, each shadow twisting into something alive. He could feel invisible eyes following. The security desk sat unmanned, an odd absence in a building that never slept. He tried his badge again, another red denial. "No," he muttered. It was as if the system itself had decided he no longer existed. Panic clawed at him. His phone buzzed in his pocket. An unknown number flashed across the screen, vibrating violently in his hand. He didn't answer. The ringing stopped, replaced by suffocating silence. The dread felt heavier than the call. Daniel whispered, "I'm already marked." He glanced around the lobby. Empty, but not safe. The walls felt like they were listening, recording, tracking his every move. His legs shook as he staggered toward the exit, afraid of what waited outside. Daniel pressed against the glass door, eyes darting to the street outside where rain streaked down neon signs. His reflection looked foreign, as though he was already erased from the world he knew. He muttered, "No turning back now." The city outside felt alive with danger. A black car idled at the curb, engine rumbling softly. He could not tell if it was coincidence or surveillance. His gut twisted. "They're watching me already," he thought, fear prickling his skin. Daniel tried the door, but it resisted. Locked, dark. He slammed it with his palm, frustration spilling over. The echo bounced back, mocking him. Each second trapped inside made him feel like a rat in a maze built to crush him. Daniel's breath fogged the glass as he leaned forward, desperation shaking his voice. "Someone locked me in," he whispered, though no one could hear. A sudden click echoed from the side door. His head snapped around, eyes wide with dread. The corridor was dark, its fluorescent strip faintly flickering. He moved cautiously, shoes squeaking against polished floors. He whispered, "This is a trap." The air smelled stale, metallic, like a vault that had been sealed too long. His chest tightened. The buzzing of the lights stopped. Silence swallowed the corridor. Daniel froze, breath caught in his throat. A soft mechanical hum rose behind him. He turned slowly, heart pounding so hard he thought it might break his ribs. The badge scanner at the far end glowed again, but this time not red. It pulsed white, like a waiting signal. Daniel whispered, "What do you want from me?" His voice cracked. He stepped closer, each footfall echoing like thunder. Suddenly, his phone lit up in his hand, screen white with no number, no words, only a blinking cursor. A single message appeared, "We know." The phone slipped from his hand, clattering loudly against the tiles. His body went cold. Daniel sat at his small kitchen table, staring at the untouched cup of coffee in front of him. His wife Emily said, "You didn't sleep again." Her voice carried worry, masked as patience, though the dark circles under his eyes said enough. He rubbed his forehead, whispering, "They shut me out. I tried to leave, and the system rejected me. She reached across the table, her hand trembling. Maybe it was just a glitch, Emily said, though she didn't believe it. The kitchen felt too quiet, the hum of the fridge loud against the silence between them. Their daughter Lily sat at the counter, swinging her legs, her curious eyes darting from one parent to the other. Daniel forced a smile for her. Emily said, "You can't keep bringing this home. We need stability, Daniel." He looked at his daughter, then back to Emily, pain written across his face. "What if I'm the only thing between them and a disaster?" His voice was low, haunted. Daniel walked Lily to school, the morning air crisp with the smell of rain. She said, "Daddy, why are you so scared lately?" He bent down, forcing a gentle smile. "Because I care too much about what could happen," he whispered. She hugged him tightly, her small arms gripping his neck. "Don't worry, Mommy and I will be okay," she said. He froze at her words, realizing his fear had seeped into her world. He kissed her forehead, whispering, "You're my reason." As Lily ran inside, Daniel's eyes followed her until she disappeared. A man in a dark suit across the street watched, pretending to check his phone. Daniel's stomach turned cold. The world outside felt less safe with every passing second. That evening, Daniel sat on the worn couch, head in his hands. Emily said, "You're shutting us out. Tell me what's happening." He lifted his eyes, haunted. "The reports, Em. They faked safety tests. They forged my name into it." Her face paled. She whispered, "My God, Daniel, what does that mean?" He leaned back, eyes glassy. "It means people could die. And if I speak up, they'll come for me." Emily pressed her hands to her mouth, trembling. Daniel said, "I don't want to lose you, but I can't live knowing what they've done." The silence stretched, only broken by the distant hum of the city through their thin walls. Emily finally whispered, "Then you can't keep silent." Later that night, Daniel stood at the sink staring into the dark window, his reflection fractured by streaks of rain. Emily entered quietly, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. "You're thinking of going to someone, aren't you?" she asked. Daniel whispered, "Maybe a journalist, maybe a lawyer. But the moment I speak, it's over for us." Emily stepped closer, placing her hand on his back. "It's already over if you stay silent," she said, voice heavy with reluctant truth. The silence lingered. Daniel's jaw clenched as he nodded slowly, acknowledging the weight of her words. "I don't want Lily to grow up thinking I chose fear," he muttered, his reflection staring back at him with hollow eyes. The next morning, Daniel walked alone down the block, coat pulled tight against the chill. He muttered to himself, "If I do this, there's no turning back." A car rolled slowly past, tinted windows reflecting his anxious face. He tightened his grip on his briefcase, forcing himself not to look back. At the corner cafe he hesitated, staring through the window where people laughed over breakfast. The normalcy felt foreign, a world he no longer belonged to. Daniel whispered, "I can't hide anymore." He turned and walked toward the subway entrance, every step carrying the weight of a man who knew his life would never again be ordinary. Shadows followed, unseen but suffocating. Daniel entered the office building with his shoulders tight, every step echoing too loud in his mind. Co-workers avoided his eyes. Sarah said, morning, her voice brittle, gaze darting away instantly. The silence pressed harder than words. At his desk, a yellow slip from HR waited. He unfolded it with shaking fingers. "Meeting scheduled. Compliance review." He muttered, "They're coming for me." The hum of keyboards around him sounded like whispers, conspiring against him. In the reflection of his monitor, he caught glimpses of heads leaning together, hushed tones, eyes flickering toward him. Betrayal coated the air. He clenched his jaw, thinking, "They're isolating me, piece by piece." His chest burned with dread. The HR office smelled of antiseptic calm. "Mr. Coleman, head of compliance," said Daniel, "your recent behavior has raised concerns." His tone was smooth but sharp. Daniel replied, "My behavior, or the fact I'm asking questions you don't want asked?" Coleman adjusted his tie, eyes narrowing. Your position requires discretion. Daniel felt heat rise in his chest. Discretion or silence? Coleman's lips curled into a practiced smile. Silence protects everyone, Daniel, including you. The words cut like a blade. Daniel gripped the armrest tightly. He thought of Emily and Lily, their faces flashing in his mind. His voice cracked. If protecting them means covering lies, then no. I want. Coleman's smile faded, replaced by a cold warning stare. That night, Daniel sat at the dinner table, pushing food around his plate. Emily said, "What happened?" He whispered, "They're threatening me." Her fork clattered onto the table. "Threatening? Daniel, you have to stop." His hands shook, gripping his glass. Lily looked up, eyes wide. "Daddy, are we in trouble?" He forced a smile that cracked instantly. "No, sweetheart, you're safe." Emily snapped, "Don't lie to her." The air went still. A fragile thread pulled too tight. Daniel slammed his fist lightly against the table. "If I walk away, people die. If I fight, they'll come after us." His voice broke. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Lily hugged her toy closer, silence heavier than screams. At the office the next day, Daniel passed a conference room. Inside, his co-workers huddled together. Their laughter clipped the moment they saw him. One whispered, "He's finished." His chest tightened, their silence louder than insults. He sat at his desk and noticed a folder placed carefully in the center. Inside, shredded copies of safety tests were taped together like a warning. His throat went dry. He whispered, "They're letting me know they control everything." The screen of his computer blinked with an anonymous message, "Walk away or lose everything." His stomach turned cold. Every wall felt closer, every breath harder. He realized he was now a marked man, prey in plain sight. That night, Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Emily whispered beside him, "You can't keep this up. They'll destroy us." He turned, shadows hollowing his face. "If I stop, people will die," he said. His voice was barely human. Emily touched his cheek. "And if you keep going, you'll die." The silence stretched, only the faint hum of rain against the window filling it. Daniel closed his eyes, tears slipping out. He whispered, "Maybe that's the price." Emily turned away, her back shaking. The bed felt colder, their bodies divided by more than blankets. Daniel's heart pounded with fear and resolve, knowing the war outside was now inside their home as well. Daniel sat in the dimly lit parking garage, the hum of engines echoing against concrete walls. His friend Mark arrived, lowering his voice. "You're not safe, Daniel." Relief surged in Daniel's chest, but suspicion lingered behind his tired eyes. Mark said, "I've seen the files too. They're worse than you think." Daniel leaned forward, whispering, "Then help me. I can't fight this alone." Mark nodded, his hands restless. Daniel noticed the sweat on his brow, a nervous twitch in his jaw. Daniel muttered, "You're all I can trust right now." Mark hesitated, eyes darting toward the exit. His voice cracked, "Yeah, of course." The words felt hollow. Something in his tone struck Daniel like a hidden blade he couldn't yet see. The next day, Daniel received an anonymous envelope on his desk. Inside were copies of his emails, marked with false accusations of misconduct. His stomach turned. He whispered, "They're framing me." His pulse thudded in his ears like war drums. Mark appeared behind him, speaking softly. "They're tightening the noose. You need to walk away." Daniel turned, eyes narrowing. "How do you know what's in this?" Mark's smile flickered, thin and uneasy. "Because I've been trying to protect you." Daniel studied him, unsettled. A shadow of betrayal coiled inside his chest, but he forced a nod. "Then stand with me." Mark looked away. His silence was heavier than denial. That evening, Daniel slipped into the records room. He searched through filing cabinets, papers rustling like dry leaves. A voice behind him froze his blood. "You shouldn't be here." He turned to find Mark, expression unreadable, standing in the doorway. Daniel whispered. You followed me? Mark stepped closer. They asked me to keep an eye on you. I didn't have a choice. Rage surged through Daniel. You were the only one I trusted. Mark's jaw tightened, shame flashing in his eyes. Mark said, they promised I'd be safe if I cooperated. Daniel clenched his fists, heart shattering. So you sold me out. The silence between them cracked louder than thunder. Daniel slammed the cabinet shut, voice shaking. You chose survival over truth. Mark stepped forward, pleading. They would have destroyed me, Daniel. You don't understand the pressure. Daniel's laugh was bitter, hollow. I understand fear, but I didn't let it own me. Mark lowered his gaze, voice breaking. I'm sorry. Daniel turned away, whispering, sorry won't save the lives they're gambling with. His fists trembled at his sides. He felt the weight of betrayal like chains pulling him down. Mark said, you're going to get yourself killed. Daniel faced him, eyes burning. Then at least it'll be for something real. Later that night, Daniel drove through rain-slicked streets, headlights slicing through the darkness. His phone buzzed with a new message. He read aloud, your ally has already spoken, you're next. His grip on the wheel tightened until his knuckles turned white. He whispered, they're using him against me. His reflection in the windshield looked like a ghost. The betrayal hollowed him, yet hardened his resolve. He muttered, if they want a fight, I'll give them one. The storm outside roared like approval. Thunder cracked as Daniel pressed harder on the accelerator, the city lights blurring. He knew the trap was closing, but his path was set. There was no retreat, only confrontation waiting ahead. Daniel sat in the small office of a journalist named Rachel, papers spread across the desk like evidence in a trial. Rachel said, if we publish this, there's no going back. Daniel's voice was raw. There's already no going back. She leaned forward, eyes sharp. You realize they'll try to tear you apart. Daniel's hands shook as he pushed forward a flash drive. Then let them. At least the truth will stand. His reflection in the window looked older, drained. Rachel said, I'll need confirmation from a second source. Daniel muttered, you'll get it, but don't wait too long. Fear and defiance mixed in his chest like fire and ice. He knew the storm was already breaking. The next morning, Daniel entered the courthouse, his heart hammering. Reporters swarmed, cameras flashing. A journalist shouted, did you falsify reports? Daniel raised his voice above the noise. No, I exposed them. His words cut through the chaos like steel. Inside, the courtroom was hushed, the weight of judgment pressing on every wall. Across the aisle, corporate executives sat with polished suits and cold eyes. Daniel's jaw clenched. He whispered to himself, you can't silence me now. Emily sat in the gallery, gripping Lily's hand tightly. Their faces were pale, fear etched deep, yet pride shimmered faintly in Emily's eyes. Daniel stood taller, knowing the cost but refusing to bend. Inside the courtroom, Daniel took the witness stand. His voice trembled at first. The reports were forged. My name was added without my knowledge. Gasps rippled through the audience. He steadied himself, gripping the railing tighter. The company's lawyer stood, smirking. Do you have proof, Mr. Carter? Daniel glared. Yes. He lifted the flash drive. The tension cracked through the air as screens displayed documents and signatures, undeniable evidence of fraud. The executives shifted uneasily, masks slipping. Emily whispered to Lily, he's doing it. Daniel said, they gambled with lives. I won't let them bury this. His voice rang like a hammer on steel, each word heavier than the last. Cross-examination cut like knives. Weighing them all. The lawyer said, you're bitter, unstable, seeking revenge. Daniel's fists clenched. I'm seeking justice. The lawyer sneered. Or fame? Daniel's voice cracked but rose. I'd give anything to never be here, but I couldn't stay silent. Every word left Daniel raw, exposed. Sweat dripped down his neck. He saw Emily watching, her eyes glistening with tears. Her silent strength anchored him. He inhaled sharply, then roared, "This isn't about me. It's about the lives they endangered." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The judge banged the gavel, demanding silence. Daniel locked eyes with the executives. Their polished calm was cracking, revealing fear beneath their facade. Daniel's final words rang through the chamber. "You can take my job, my safety, even my name. But you cannot erase the truth." His voice thundered, echoing against the polished walls. Silence followed, heavy, unbreakable. The executives sat rigid, their empire unraveling in real time. Emily stood slowly, her hand over her heart, pride etched across her weary face. Lily squeezed her hand, whispering, "Daddy's brave." Daniel closed his eyes, the weight of sacrifice crushing him. The judge called for order, but Daniel already knew his life would never return to normal. He had set the truth loose, and nothing could cage it again. The trial ended, but Daniel walked out not to applause, only to silence and whispers. Reporters swarmed, yet the company still stood tall, denying, spinning. Emily said, "You did it, but look at us." Their savings were gone, his job erased. Daniel whispered, "Truth comes with a cost." He glanced at Lily holding Emily's hand, her innocence dimmed by fear. Yet in her eyes he saw pride. The world might doubt him, but his daughter didn't. That was his fragile victory. The corporation remained powerful, but its sheen was cracking. The headlines read half-truths, shaping him as hero to some, villain to others. Daniel muttered, "Justice doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like survival." At home, bills piled high on the kitchen counter. Emily flipped through them, her voice shaking. "We can't keep this up," Daniel said. "I'll find something." But his phone sat silent, calls unanswered, emails ignored. He was marked, blacklisted. Lily asked quietly, "Why don't they want you to work?" Daniel forced a smile. "Because I told the truth, sweetheart." Her brows furrowed, innocence colliding with injustice. Emily turned away, tears stinging. "And now we pay for it," she whispered. Daniel touched Emily's shoulder. "I'd do it again. But I'm sorry it's you both who pay the most." The kitchen air grew heavy, love fighting despair in fragile silence. Daniel met Rachel again in a cafe, the air filled with the scent of burnt coffee and rain outside. She said, "Your story's everywhere, but the company spins faster than we can print." Daniel sighed, "So they bleed me while they survive." Rachel leaned in. "You gave the public truth. That matters." Daniel muttered, "Truth doesn't feed my family." His eyes hollow, hands trembling on the chipped mug. Rachel softened. "Heroes rarely live easy lives." Daniel whispered, "I never wanted to be a hero." The cafe buzzed with chatter, yet Daniel felt isolated, like a ghost among the living. His name was in headlines, but his life was no longer his own. That night, Daniel sat on Lily's bed, tucking her in. She whispered, "Are we going to be okay?" He forced a smile, brushing her hair. "We'll be okay, because we have each other." His words wavered, fragile as glass. She hugged him tight, her small arms anchoring him more than she could know. Emily stood in the doorway, watching with eyes full of both love and fear. Daniel's chest tightened, realizing his fight had stolen peace from them both. He kissed Lily's forehead and whispered, "Never forget that telling the truth matters, even when it hurts." She nodded, her eyes heavy with trust. The weight of her belief nearly broke him. Weeks later, Daniel walked alone through the city, the world rushing past indifferent. A billboard flashed news of the scandal, his name scrolling beneath headlines. Some pointed, some sneered, a few whispered, "Thanks." To most, he was already yesterday's story. He paused at a corner, staring at the skyline. The company still stood, scarred but alive. He whispered, "I gave everything, and they still stand." Yet, in his chest, a flicker of pride burned, because lies had cracks now, visible to all. His phone buzzed. A message appeared, "We're watching." Daniel slipped it back into his pocket. he whispered. So am I. He walked on, a man broken but unbowed, carrying the weight of truth like armor. Daniel sat at the kitchen table late at night, papers scattered like ruins of a war. Emily said, "We can't rebuild what we lost." Daniel whispered, "Maybe not. But at least the truth is out there." His eyes were tired, but unyielding. Emily looked down, voice heavy. "Do you ever regret it?" Daniel paused, staring at Lily's school drawings pinned to the fridge. "Every day. But I'd regret silence more." The weight of his words pressed against the silence, sharp and final. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound as they sat together, a family scarred but still intact. The world outside was broken, but inside a fragile truth remained. Daniel walked through the park at dawn, the world drenched in pale gray mist. He whispered, "They wanted silence. Instead they got me." Jalgas passed, indifferent, lives untouched by his battle. He felt invisible, but strangely free. He paused by a bench, staring at a newspaper headline left behind, "Corporation faces ongoing investigations." Beneath it, his name printed bold. He touched the ink, his fingers smudging it, as if to erase himself from the page. He muttered, "History forgets fast." Yet inside, he knew the cracks were permanent. Lies couldn't be sealed again, not completely. He took a deep breath, mist curling around him like ghosts of the fight. That afternoon, Daniel stood outside the corporation's headquarters. The building loomed like glass and steel armor. Executives walked briskly past reporters, smiling as if nothing had happened. Daniel whispered, "Monsters wear suits, not masks." A young employee passing by whispered, "Thank you," before vanishing into the crowd. Daniel froze, heart jolting. For a moment, hope flickered. He wasn't entirely alone. Change, however small, had begun. He looked up at the massive logo shimmering against the sun. "You'll fall," he muttered. His voice was quiet, but in his chest, it felt like thunder. That evening, Daniel sat on a rooftop overlooking the city, neon lights buzzing below. He whispered to himself, "They took everything, but they didn't take my voice." He lit a cigarette, the smoke curling like memory into the night air. The city pulsed beneath him, alive, indifferent. His phone buzzed with another message, "We're not finished." Daniel exhaled slowly, muttering, "Neither am I." His eyes burned with fire and fatigue, a man scarred but unbroken. He stared into the skyline, a battlefield made of glass and light. He knew tomorrow would bring more threats, but tonight, he allowed himself a moment of defiance in the dark. The house was silent when Daniel returned. On the table lay an envelope with no sender. Inside, a single sheet. It was worth it? Daniel's breath hitched. He whispered, "Yes." His voice cracked but carried finality, unshaken. He set the letter down, his hand trembling, then looked toward Emily and Lily asleep in the next room. His chest filled with pain and pride. He whispered again, softer, "Yes." Silence hung heavy, but it was his silence chosen. The night swallowed the sound, leaving only the echo of his resolve. For all the loss, Daniel knew his truth would live longer than their threats.